Former mainstream journalist Chuck Todd, leftist Democrat, destroys Joe Biden and his family because he's finally telling the truth. Isn't that a neat change? Wow, they should have tried that back 4 years ago. They might have won an election. They might still have a job. Welcome to the Doug ToNapel channel. Let's go to Chuck Todd, where he tells the truth, perhaps for the first time in his life.
It is time for them to move on from Schumer. But this is why I go back and say the Democratic parties, Joe Biden never should have been there in the first place, right? Number one, he shouldn't have run for president. I completely got so angry at Joe Biden, the man, when I read the transcript of the Hunter Biden trial. And when I realized that not one, not two, but three Biden children, and I count Bo's widow, were all dealing with drug problems in 2018. And Joe Biden said, now's a perfect time to run for president because who cares about our family? I have to tell you something about Joe Biden. There's this mythology about Joe Biden that the man cared so much. It's all bullshit. This man supposedly cared so much about his family that he commuted every day. Guess what? This man cared so much about his political career that he commuted every day, right? Like I could take the same fact and it created a myth, and he did it for 40 years, that he was this incredible family man. And instead, what he really was a craven political animal that it was desperate. The man considered or ran for president every 4 years he was eligible. You know why he didn't run in 76? He wasn't 35 yet.
He's a craven political dirtbag that they try to make this big public servant, the legendary Joe Biden who gave his life to politics. The legendary Joe Biden who put his family aside and neglected them his whole life. That's not a great dad story. I mean, it's one thing if you're working really hard and your family's coming out great, like Trump's kids, allegedly. But Joe Biden's kids were all on drugs. Even his in-laws were on drugs. That's how bad the social contagion was. Wasn't just Joe's biological kids were on drugs, but the people they were married to, they spread their drugginess even to another bloodline. Social contagion. And now you have Chuck Todd. I'm happy that he finally saw the light. But wow, where was this guy? Where's this guy been for the last 20 years? Much less going all the way up defending Biden, all the way up to them replacing him. Now suddenly he's telling us it was always BS. He was always a terrible dad. Why didn't you say that when you opened your news segment? I don't want to grind it too hard in his face. I'm happy that in hindsight now he's actually had his eyes, the scales have dropped off. But he's just following the weather vane that this is what's popular now and getting more popular to do in media, just like when Karine Jean-Pierre the other day started telling the truth. Now the truth is popular, I guess. So welcome. Some of us had to tell the truth when we were losing our jobs. Well, you were keeping your job by lying. And then then the truth came out, and then you all lost your jobs for lying. And I'm still holding on to my job, thankfully. Here's the Steve, I forgot his name, but I think he's from the Lincoln Project.
The only reason.
I literally made a room gasp full of people. And I think I ran not what became the grift, but a political organization that was incredibly effective, right, in beating Donald Trump in 2020.
Yeah, thank you for beating Donald Trump in 2020, because we wouldn't be getting the giant wins today. How's your defeat? Congratulations on your defeat. Thanks for handing him over to us in 2024.
Right, the Lincoln Project, before it became, unfortunately, something that pockets 90 cents of every dollar.
That's the Lincoln Project that he used to be a part of. And now he's throwing them out. Now they went from effectively fighting against Trump, which they were never that effective, guys. That you do not credit the Lincoln Project with taking Trump down in 2020. But he does say that they're pocketing 90 cents of every dollar they're getting. Thank you, Democrat, liberals and anti-Trumpers, your money's being wasted.
There's an old saying, right, that every cause becomes a business, right, becomes a racket. But what I said to the group that made them gasp, I said, I have 5 kids. If I had to leave 12-year-old alone, and my choices, if I had to leave the kids with someone, and my choices are Hunter Biden or Ashley Biden or Don Jr. and Eric and Laura Trump, I'm dropping the kids off at Don and Eric and Laura's house.
Yes. This is a never Trumper going, I would never leave my 5 kids with the Biden kids. And that made people gasp. at the Lincoln Project. He said, I made the room gasp. You wouldn't leave your kids with a crackhead Hunter Biden? That's how terrible. I'm just trying to let this be a window into the Democrats' mind of how it is a cult. It's a kind of a cult. If you're still anti-Trump and pro-Biden, pro-Hunter Biden now, and you still think there's Russia collusion and all that, you're in a cult. You need to be deprogrammed. You need the family to come around and have an intervention where they go, we need to talk to you. You know, we can't watch you destroy yourself this way anymore. This is Caroline Leavitt, press secretary, sitting down with Howie Kurtz.
You say, with the White House taking it over, that this is returning power to the people, but it's really transferring power to the White House.
Shut up. You're so wrong. He's saying that like all the Doge and all this, the White House press kicking out many of the calcified old anti-Trump media. She shook up the room and they're letting in outside voices. So we'll let him continue with his accusation and we'll have her give the rebuttal.
What's to stop you from largely, and I say largely because I know, for example, that you're keeping legacy media outlets as part of the pool, largely picking friendly reporters who will ask friendly questions.
I love you, Howie, but I have to fundamentally disagree with what you're saying. Our print pooler 2 days ago was The Independent from the UK, which is not a very friendly outlet to Donald Trump. The print pooler yesterday was the Los Angeles Times. For goodness sake, CNN was our TV pooler yesterday. And we know the misinformation that they've reported about this administration and this president for years. This is not about revoking the right of biased news organizations to be in the Oval Office or to cover this president. It's simply about ending the monetized monopoly that the White House Correspondents Association has had over press coverage at the White House. And this weekend in Palm Beach, Florida, there are legitimate news journalists and outlets who are traveling on Air Force One and covering the United States as part of the travel pool who would have never been able to do that if not for this change. The White House Correspondents Association began more than 100 years ago. Certainly the media and digital age has changed since the early 1900s, and we are simply trying to reflect that change.
Right.
Beat down. Yeah, right. Well, she completely owned you. So thanks for the challenge on Fox News, Howie Kurtz. I totally like seeing a debate where someone goes up and challenges someone. Then I really like the Trump administration completely dismantling Howie Kurtz. Nice try. Go come up with another argument and see if you can make it stick next year. Maybe try using the truth next time and you might win one. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks for sitting here in this room with me. I try and put out about 5 videos a day. That's a lot of work. That means we got to be pretty sloppy when we throw these things out. If I'm going to cover all of the news, I'm trying to cover as much as I can. Just the big stories that you have to have each day. The way that you say thank you is you leave a comment below, you give us a thumbs up, and you subscribe. And I'm just thankful for you. Okay, I'm not an ingrate. You don't owe me your time. I got to earn it with every episode. Sometimes I don't do so good, but I do my best most days. I'm Doug in exile.